I'm here with Maxwell Hoffmann, who is a product evangelist with Adobe Systems. He represented the platinum sponsor of Camp, and we're grateful for that. I just wanted to talk to Maxwell about his TC Camp experience and find out a little bit more about Maxwell and about Adobe Systems. So, Maxwell, thank you for taking the time to talk with me. Was this your first TC Camp?
No, this actually was my second, I believe, and ironically, January was my third anniversary with Adobe, and I'm not quite certain, but I think my first day with Adobe might have been the day after TC Camp 3 years ago. But I have been there for this year and last year.
Okay, wonderful. And why does Adobe choose to support TC Camp at the level that they do?
Well, for several reasons. Part of it is because it's such a different venue. You know, being an what we call an unconference, we're very happy to share information and useful education any way that we can. But what we particularly like about TC Camp is it's not a one-way transmission of information from the vendors to attendees. What's really terrific is the workshops are very interactive. I particularly like the fact that the speakers are very democratically chosen across people. Many of the speakers are well known and have been heard before, but there often are people doing presentations or workshops that are even new to the job market that just have terrific ideas. So it's a very diverse. I don't want to say audience, a very diverse group of participants that you can learn a great deal from.
Okay, and we were privileged to have you there.
Yeah,
Maxwell, as platinum sponsor, you did a fascinating keynote. I believe the title was "Vision for the Year 2020 versus 2020 Hindsight." Can you
yes.
summarize some of your thoughts that you shared to the camp participants?
Absolutely. First of all, I should say what I shared was my personal opinion. So I was not giving an officially Adobe sanctioned timeline chart. But what I was trying to do was to take what's a general vision for the next 5 years, 2020, and contrast that to what has been predicted in the past and why many visionaries or consultants miss the mark when they try to predict exactly what's going to happen 5 years from now. One of the predictions I made, Alan, was that we will certainly see much wider adoption of XML and DITA 5 years from now than we have now. But I was predicting that it's not going to be, I don't think the penetration is going to be quite as deep as analysts are predicting. And there's several reasons for this. The primary one is human nature. Humans are resistant to change, even if something is really good, even if something will save a lot of money, even if something will improve people's lives tremendously. I've seen this throughout my career. A lot of people in a corporate culture are not quick to adopt change. First reason is a lot of people have memories of some painful process they learned migrating to new technology years ago. Some people might even remember, people would remember something awful like WordPerfect. But in addition to that, there's been a number of times that a technological breakthrough came along that was so obvious, you thought, why on earth wouldn't this, catch on like wildfire? And the example that I used was there was a movie made in the late 1960s called The Party with Peter Sellers. And one of the crew members discovered a brilliant invention. It was the first time that a video camera had ever been placed on the movie camera in such a way that the videotape was able to record exactly what the camera saw. There was no parallax, so you knew which extra was within the frame, etc. Now, this was a huge breakthrough because previously people had to wait 24 hours for a daily rush to see who was standing in frame if they had to reshoot a scene. They were able to tell instantly, and several times when they had to do retakes, they were able to nudge a particular dress extra into the shot. Now, as brilliant as this was, and a lot of people wanted to use it, there was only one camera on Earth that would do this. And for 14 years, this one camera would be placed on an airplane to go to another country, to be filmed at night, and come back to the same location in the morning. It took 14 years for Hollywood to embrace this technology just because of the very established supply line, the very rigidly defined roles that people had in film production. So that's just one example of something like, why didn't it happen faster? Now, I don't think it's going to take that long for XML and DITA, but the savings and the improvement in your product and your delivery will be just as dramatic as that camera that eliminates brushes that allows somebody to replicate a movie scene, 5 minutes later. That was just one example that I used.
Wow, that's fascinating, Maxwell. I love the analogy. I love the references to human nature, which is an ever-present factor in our
Yes.
lives. So, and I'm pleased that Adobe continues to show up and continues to promote process improvement and in workflow improvements like structured authoring and content management. So, on behalf of TC Camp, we're grateful for your participation.
Yeah, thank you.
If you don't mind, do you
Mhm.
expect to be there next year?
I do. I don't know if I'll be there personally. I do believe that Adobe is certainly planning to support it. Um, I would say there's a 90% chance that I'll be back personally because it's a good time of year without a lot of conference conflict. So I don't know of anything I don't know of anything to prevent me from coming. That, by the way, is another point I think that's really excellent about TC Camp. It is one of the first conferences of the year. It's generally the last weekend or the next to last weekend in January. So it's really terrific to be able to pull your thoughts and basically to gain a new vision, because you do gain a vision, unlike the talk that I gave, you do gain a vision from the people that you're interacting with. I was astonished at some of the ideas I captured last year from people relatively new. And one last point I was going to make that I did make in my talk. This is something that the camp will help you discover, by the way. There's a lot of mythology being exploded in the press right now about this vast generation gap between millennials and Generation X or baby boomers, and my experience has been very much the opposite. I'm finding that young people entering the marketplace have very good instincts. They're very bright. I think that a lot of these stereotypes of millennials are frankly kind of insulting to them more so than other generations. And getting back to what you said, human nature really doesn't change. When I meet young people who are relatively inexperienced and new to the workspace, I find the same personalities that I found in their parents or perhaps even in their grandparents that I worked with over the last 40 years. So that's one constant. The good thing about it is because human nature doesn't change that radically from generation to generation, if you understand human nature, you can find a way to communicate with anybody, including the way that Adobe communicated the benefits of our products.
I'm reminded of an ancient Greek philosopher who
Yeah.
is quoted as railing against the evils and the sloth of the younger generation. So that's always
Yes.
been true. So
Yes.
Maxwell, thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you so much to you
Mhm.
and to Adobe for supporting TC Camp, and I
Yes.
hope to see you down the road very soon.
I do too, and I would just say go TC Camp, and if anybody can possibly go, I highly recommend it. It's well worth the modest cost, and I think you'll truly enjoy the experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Take care.